Hello everyone, welcome here at Your World or Mine. Show me yours and I'll show you mine. And today we have beautiful Davida here, and she's all the way from Israel. Now Davida, you know, I'm an alien. I come from another planet. And I'm really curious to hear about your experience of life here on Earth at the moment. So what is that about for you currently?
Thank you for having me today. Life on this planet for me, wow. Life for me is a very exciting journey. What I'm excited about it the most is that I don't know where the end of it or even how it look like. I have a few milestones in mind that I want to reach there as midway destinations, but I'm very, very curious to know which path to take, even which obstacles they're gonna cross my way. So yeah, for me, it's just about curiosity at the end.
Wow, you know, you mentioned something that's really interesting to me, and it's you speaking about you don't know what's going to happen, and you have a few milestones, and you're also curious about even the obstacles. But then the thing that you really mentioned that I'm curious about is, how do you choose the path? How do you know what path to choose? Or are you simply still trying to see how it's happening and unfolding?
Right. It very much dependent on which path are we talking, because on the personal path, it's going with my, well, actually, you know what? It's the same. It's going with my values. It's going with my values and my truth. And I don't know the path. I'm simply trying, but I have my guidelines, which is very helpful. So every now and then I just sit with myself and I'm clarifying to myself, what are those guidelines? Have they changed recently? Do I want to try something else that will lead me on that way? And then I try the path. And I have some very good friends and family to support me in actually clarifying these guidelines, these values. So I can sit with a friend and tell her, hey, I need you to echo me. I need to talk out loud and you will listen to me. And she sometimes doesn't even have to reply. I just need to talk it out loud and clarify to myself. And then I choose the path.
Oh, you're bringing such gold today. It's like gold mine. I love what you're sharing. I really love, I think it's so helpful for those out there, because there are so many options today, what to choose, what to do. And we have so many, people requesting our attention and things we see on social media all over. It's everywhere. So it can easily feel overwhelming and chaotic. But I love what you're talking about, the echo chamber type experience of a soundboard, somebody just listening to you. And in my experience, when we talk about something, in the old days you would have gone to a psychologist and you lie on their couch, but this is different. This is not the same. This is to really, for us to actually hear what we are thinking and what we are feeling ourselves. Because the more senses we use in our own bodies, it's much easier for that direction can come from within and not somebody else telling us what to do. Because that can be quite distracting, and sometimes it also just can lead us on to the wrong path. It's not necessarily our path. It's not that it's a wrong path, but it's not our path. So I love that you're taking time for that. I think that's extremely useful to get that clarity in whatever way is resonant for oneself, whether it's with their family and loved ones.
I think that one of the strongest human needs is to be heard, for someone to listen to you. And you are right to say that this is an overwhelming time of information and data coming from all over the place. So just to create a space to be heard could be a gift by itself, whether we are gifted by someone or we gift it to ourselves. So yeah, I can totally relate to what you just said, absolutely.
So how in this busy world, the world's very busy, there's so much going on and things move so fast, do one make time for that? Is it a personal thing that that you just make it a priority in your life?
I make it a priority, and I would say even more. I would say it's a practice. So the same as you practice other stuff in your life, making time to yourself, whether it's for journaling, for other self-care activity, or just to talk to someone or to listen to yourself. Yeah, you need this practice, and then you prioritize and you put time. And the reason I call it a practice is that if you do it just now and then as, oh, I have this idea in mind and I'm going to just sit now with a cup of coffee and myself and my journal, this is nice, but this is not part of your routine. So it won't last. But if you practice that and you make it something more constant in your life, then you really go into that space of, I know I need that time for self-care or to listen to myself or to talk to someone and connecting. And then it becomes a really integral part of your life, your work, your profession, your family life even, right? Because we can choose if we want to sit together and just everyone is looking at their screen, or do we really want to connect and have a dialogue with the people surrounding us? So this is why I call it a practice, something that we really dedicate not only the time, but also the attention to create more of it in our lives.
You know, when you speak about it, what comes up for me is I'm relating it to when you're an athlete. You practice every day, or you're a pianist, doesn't matter whatever your beautiful skill is about that you are practicing. You use the word practice. I think when some people hear the word practice, sometimes they misunderstand it. They might misunderstand it. Because we do it all the time anyway, like I say, with an athlete or a dancer or a pianist or an artist who paints. It's something that you do regularly. And if we just look at our own bodies, when we exercise, for example, we build our muscles, we strengthen them, and we make them flexible with all the exercise. And it's the same. It's a muscle that we must use. And if we don't use it and do something with it, it will become stiff. And like you say, we need to do it often. So also, I can't just go run once a week and think I'm going to be an athlete. It's not going to work. So it's like anything else in the world. We must really, like you say, prioritize time for it, that it becomes a practice. And when we use the word practice, we mean we're doing it regularly, not just once in a while, because then it will not have the effect. And you know, there's something interesting about our brains as well. There's some of us, the way our brains are, there's circuits in our brain, in the neural paths. Some is like a soccer player. Now this, then that, then this, then that. Whereas some athlete, for example, is doing the same thing over and over again. And that neural path then gets deeper and deeper in the brain even. So our whole body is made for that by itself. And it's through our bodies that we actually experience life. Without our bodies, we would just have a mind and a heart, however we refer to that. So it's very important. Now, Davida, you speak about, at this moment in time, how you look at what's busy happening, that you are curious about obstacles. What type of obstacles are you currently experiencing or seeing in the world, especially for our younger generation?
Well, we can look at a social level and see so much of it there. I see inequality everywhere. For me, that's the biggest obstacle. Sometimes I experience myself, but sometimes I just see it around me on the social level, that people don't get the same opportunities, or people don't get the same option to put even their foot in the door as opposed to other people. But I can see it also in the way that resources on this planet are allocated. So this could be very natural and physical resources, but it could be also emotional and spiritual resources, because when people don't get a chance to be even emotionally supported, then it's a huge challenge for them to even proceed, because they don't get the support and mentoring that they need. So another practice, if to keep using that word, is to actually learn how to ask for help, which for me is something quite new that I discovered of how to overcome challenges. On the personal level, for me, The challenges are about, well, first, of course, to raise awareness and convey the messages. You know, like we said, people are flooded with messages and information. So how do we really focus on the social impact, on sustainability, on the personal development, and not on all the other stuff that are going around them? So for me, one of the biggest challenges is to actually to raise that awareness and help people to realize what is really important in life. Not that I determine what is important for them, but just to help them to make the time to see for them what is important. And yeah, why I said it's a bit new for me, the asking for help a bit, is because I was raised, and I believe many other people, in a culture of you need to prove yourself, right? Like success is a measurement of how tough you are. And it took me many, many years to understand that to succeed and to be brave is not really about do it by yourself. It's about finding the right people to surround you. It's about asking for help when you need it. It's about being even vulnerable in a way to share my setbacks and challenges. That's something I wouldn't do a few years back, but now I'm really getting good at it and really saying what is tough for me now and where do I really need to get some help.
You know, you just shared so much wisdom there. Just so much in those few sentences. You actually encompass, you're speaking about the lack of emotional, spiritual support for when you do things, for example. And when you speak about not being conditioned not to ask for help, that you have to be perfect and you have to be the best, whatever that means. And I just wrote a little post earlier on social media about the wonder of people who are able to share their vulnerabilities and their fragilities. Because in my own experience in life, it's not the time, yes, we all blossom and we are great and awesome. But for me personally, it was the times that I was my most fragile, my most vulnerable, whatever level it was, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, mentally. I was the most creative, by the way, in those times. But it is that we have been conditioned not to value such things. And I think it's wonderful that you're even speaking about it. Because for our younger people, when one of us speak about it, that person there far away in their bedroom or in their lounge, sitting with their social media or whatever they're currently busy with, here somebody else is going through something similar. And that creates an emotional connection, even if they don't know you personally. There's just this knowing, you know what, I'm not a total freak or weirdo. Everybody's going through this stuff. It's not only me. So I don't need to feel bad. I don't need to run myself down because I feel all these emotions, or I feel overwhelmed, or I feel fearful. So the wonder is you're speaking about all those things in such a beautiful way, because on the one hand, it's the support side, being able to be heard, to speak about it in a loving, unjudgmental situation. And for that, we need people that we know. It's like, it's not somebody who just don't necessarily speak like that to a stranger, or might be easier even to speak to somebody that's a stranger about it. But it doesn't matter what it is, there's a connection created. And it's not just a friend, a name, a friend, or the amount of people that you know on social media. It's the people that you've had discussions, deep discussions, and somebody listening to you on what you are sharing, and you echoing it to out there, that everybody else know I'm not the only one going through this stuff.
Yeah, no, that confirmation, I'm not the only one, I'm not alone out there, is a very, very important confirmation. When we see in social media that everybody are so-called succeeding, we don't know the real story behind it. We don't know how much effort was put in that. We don't know the struggles, right? So when we are connecting and we know we're not alone, that's such an important confirmation for what is that we do. Like one of the most common replies when you ask, even let's take an entrepreneur, someone who's trying to succeed in a new mission, and you ask them, how's it going? The most common reply you're going to get is fine, it's going great, right? But nothing ever goes great. Like there's no perfect world. It's only in social media, basically. So to really state, it doesn't have to be with everyone, right? It should be with people that you trust. But to really say what's on your mind and what you are struggling with, it's not a sign of weakness. It's your way to keep paving this path that we talked before with the support of others, and knowing that you're not walking this path alone, and knowing that there are going to be cross paths along the way of people. You don't know them yet, right? And you don't know what you're going to need from them, and you don't know what they're going to need from you. But to create these connections that in some point you're going to have partners for the road, and then they're going to say goodbye and move on. But you feel so supported and so held that this journey, this metaphorical journey, becomes so much more nourishing. It's not going to be easier, but more nourishing in a way.
I love that. That you say easier and nourishing. I love it. Because I get it all the time from the older generations. And believe me, I'm kind of I don't consider myself an activist, but I'm definitely an activist for the younger generations. Because the older generations believe that the young people want everything instantaneously, easy and quick. But they don't understand that we live in a very different time now. Things happen much faster. So the sense that they want something quicker might be misunderstood, because in the past, let me explain. When I was your age, for example, it took us 10 years to do something. Now, it's in 5 minutes. So the older people now think the younger people are impatient, that they want stuff easier, but it's because time, the experience of our human experience of it is very different today, because things moves much faster than 20, 30 years ago when I was much younger. So it's to have that understanding of the nourishing part that you bring up now. I just love that part, because the question then to ask anybody, is this nourishing? Whatever it is on your path, to make your decision, to ask yourself, is this nourishing, or is this going to drain me? Yes. Or is it going to make me feel worse, because it's just adding on to what I'm already feeling, that it's not feeling so good. But when you talk about nourishment, I experience it on so many different levels in this moment. I myself feel it suddenly, just when you say that word. Because when we breathe in air, we nourish our whole body. It's nourishment. When we think good thoughts, it's nourishment for our minds. When we focus on good thoughts and good things, it's nourishment for our minds, no matter our situation. The feeling part is the same. So what are we nourishing with this specific path, or the situation, or this choice we are making in this specific moment? And like you said, tomorrow we can change it. That's the wonderful part of it. In my young days, you chose something, and it was perceived that you're going to have this path for the rest of your life. No more longer. It doesn't work like that any longer. But the wonderful part is that we can never really make a mistake as far as I'm concerned. It might not feel so good, and we learn along the way. But this ability that we know we can change it any moment. So we go on this path, we feel what's nourishing or not, and we decide for us according to that value, for example. And if it doesn't work out like we think, we don't have to beat ourselves about it. We can choose another way, find something else. But I just want to quickly go back before I forget, because you mentioned so many beautiful things. Is the part of finding others that have similar values, that have similar aspirations. And sometimes it's not necessarily even similar aspirations, but who have similar values. They might be doing something very different, but they come on our paths to support us on one of these levels we spoke about earlier. And when I speak to younger people, there is a lot of them saying to me that it's difficult for them to find these people. How do you find them? So how do you find them?
That's a great question. And I actually asked that question people in the last couple of years when I was doing my research on burnout. Because I just give it a very quick introduction, one of the keys in preventing burnout is to actually find those mentors or those supporters. So anyone who I'm interviewed, I ask them, how do you find your mentors? How do you reach out? How do you know which one? And how do you take this courage to actually approach? And the replies that I got some beautiful and varied replies. One of the beautiful, for example, was from a mentor who told me, you know what, it always looks like for people when they want to ask for help and for a mentor, it looks like for the other person, it's going to be a burden. But actually for someone to get a request to mentor someone else, even if it is a burden, it's also a huge compliment. And usually when you approach someone and ask them for help, for their experience, for their piece of advice, they usually, unless they're really, really busy, they will usually say, I would try and help you. And for them, it's a compliment. It's an opportunity to contribute from their experience. So practically, what people can do, what I'm doing, is that I search around my networks. It could be, physical people that I know personally and I can pick up the phone or even meet. But it can also be online networks. And I'm trying to figure out what exactly do I need, to be very specific with my request, and then to search the right person and see if they have the time to talk to me first, and then be very, very clear with my request. I mean, sometimes part of the problem is not that people don't want to help, is that they don't even understand the question. So the more we are clear about our request, the better is the chance to get someone else to help us. So it's to search around, is to be very clear, and it's also to remember to keep in mind that people's natural tendency is wanting to help. And with that in mind, I think it's easier to reach out to people.
You mentioned something very important here, that it's how we think about the other people, that we want to help us. So if we think they're not going to want to help us, that's exactly what we will get. We'll get the wrong person, or we will attract the wrong person, or we'll gravitate towards the wrong person because of what we think. And it comes back to that beautiful way you're speaking about clarity on so many levels, that we have to be clear about what it is we require in this moment. Because maybe in a week's time, you will need something different. That's okay. But in that specific moment, to be as clear as possible. And I think today, because of all the stuff going on around us, all this information, all these people, all these networks, where do I find my place in my home for this little while of what I need nourishment for now and guidance for now in terms of mentoring, is to be clear about in a way of how we express it. So it's the articulation sometimes that other people don't really understand, because it's like we're speaking behind, over their heads. And I've had a personal experience of that a few years ago that I want to share with you today. I don't know why, but it just seems appropriate. I was, at that moment in time, I was sharing a new way of leadership embodiment for the world. And I wrote academic papers about it. It was all wonderful. And then I came into the business world, which I was part of, because I came with a very strong business background and in consulting. So I used to advise clients on all different levels and actually created solutions for them. They didn't even have a problem. I would create something for them that would improve their business and what their business bring into the world. But when I did the leadership embodiment programs and with more experiences for leaders and CEO level people and CXO level people, I would get 500 no's a month. And I continued for 3 years with this process. And I'd still get all these no's. So I was like, so I just went on and on and on. And I wanted to be shown by the universe, for that matter, what is it that I could easily see they didn't understand what I was talking about. Because I was expressing on their level what I'm bringing. I was expressing on my level of how I saw it. But I didn't do the translation perfect, it's not perfect, but in a way that they could really understand, that it would be clear to them, what is this new thing called leadership embodiment about, especially in a business environment. And then we started doing some business breakfast leadership workshops, mini ones, like 2-3 hour ones. And for the physical experience with leaders, I got to be able to actually articulate it better. I was sharing the same stuff, but they were my sounding board. You talked about the echoing, because through their physical experiences, I could notice how to articulate it. So why am I raising this now? Is that when we have some beautiful vision or idea that we want to bring into the world, we need these, and you could call it the echo chamber, whatever you want to call them, these places where you actually share this with people, not that you're guinea pigs, but that we can articulate it clearer, because it's to really to get to that person, because we have something for them that can help them, that's helpful, that might improve their experience. But it is to get to not their level, but to their experience in this moment in time, that we can speak the right language to them.
Yeah.
And I find that is sometimes, and it's not an obstacle, but it can create a barrier between people who bring something beautiful to the world and others just not getting it, or what is this person actually doing?
I think for me, what's helping a lot in this regard is the approach of nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication, which is very wide and used all over the world to build better relationships, can be also used in that context, and I'll explain how. So when you break down a simple communication within the nonviolent communication approach, then you observe something and then you express emotion, a need, and a clear request. And if we remember those three, emotion, a need, and a clear request, what we will notice is everyone shares emotions and everyone shares their needs. If there's one thing connecting all humans on this planet, is emotions and needs. So when I approach someone and I want to discuss something, if I'm expressing through this message a certain need, either that came for me or for them, and expressing a certain emotion, and then I ask a clear request, I think it creates a much better connection, and the other person can really relate to what I'm saying now. Because then it's not just another vague message. Then we are referring to a very, very specific need that we are both trying to address and to meet there. And for me, that's a very useful approach when I'm trying to communicate messages or just to have an interaction with another person.
I like that. I love that. So you say it's the emotion, the need, and the clarity of how you express that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that for me, if I would build now as a quick sentence, I would approach someone and say, "Hey, I feel this connection, and I need a partner now. Would you be willing to have a conversation with me so we could explore it?" And that sounds much better than overload them with content and who knows what. It's just so simple and so straight to the point. What am I feeling? What is that I need? What do you need? Of course, asking them what do they need, and very, very clear request.
I love that. And I love the word simplicity that comes through what you just shared. You know, I come from a world where, at a time in this world, where the older people currently, the ones who's been here much longer, think life is very complex because of all the things that's going on. And whenever you say to them, but life's actually very simple, they really don't understand it, because their realities, it's complex. It's full of chaos. There's just so much going on. But what you're bringing us back to, what I love, is that simplicity. Beyond the overload, we have to now bring things together for people. There's just too much going on. So when we make it more simple, and now you start with the basic human needs of emotions, of the feeling of belonging, of the freedom to express myself in whatever way I want to, which the clarity comes through, and then to that thing that's called a need, the requirement, whatever you want to name it. But it's an energy. It's something that draws to us what we actually need. brings the emotions bring it together for me, and that clarity that you're speaking about. And I just want to phrase it in a different way. Clarity of thought, of expression, and the emotional maturity then to say what I truly need. Because that's where the vulnerability comes in. And that vulnerability is strong. It's not something weak. It's like you said earlier. It's most beautiful when we have the bravery to say, but this is what I need. And we need to be clear about it. Because how else will the wonderful universe know what to bring us? Because there's so much going on.
Yeah, well, that's right, actually. We have high expectations, which is wonderful. But as you said, if we're not clear even to ourselves, how do we expect anyone to understand what is that we need, right? We need to be first very clear. And this is, again, not an easy practice. This is something that we just need to make the time and space to get to this clarity. There are many, many different exercises we can have. I created for myself a vision board with different images. Where is that I want to get? Where do I want to be in, I don't know, a year from now, 2 years from now? We can write down our goals every now and then, but we need that exercise to get the clarity. Sometimes it could come in the least expected moments, which is beautiful. And then we need to create some more room to develop it. For me, the first business that I created, Be the Change, the idea came when I went for a walk with my son. He was a baby then. I took him on the stroller, we went outside, and then suddenly in the middle of nowhere, I think he was asleep already in the stroller, in the middle of nowhere by the horses, I suddenly had this realization, what do I want to do with my life? So I came back home, I put my son into bed, and I sat down and sketched. I think I used colored pencils and just, regular pen and paper just to write down my ideas until I got this clarity. But this is, for me, it's a nice example, but also I take it as a serious play. I think it's really important to make that space to get this clarity.
Mm-hmm. When you speak about it now, my body celebrates. All my cells like, especially my forehead, at my mind, even my ears fall out now. But the space thing, I think it's one of the things that we need to put more attention to these days, the time and the space. I always used to say to people in the business world, when you do a strategy session in a room with 4 walls, how can you see the future? Because that's what strategy is about, it's vision. But space today, it's physical space as well. Whatever our schedules are about, we need to prioritize space for ourselves. And for me, if you're looking for a solution for something that's happening in your life, or a possibility of what's possible to make it maybe better or to improve it, if we sit in the same space where the issue was created, it's very difficult to become more clear of what we really want, because we're in it, we're engulfed in what's happening. It's like a whirlpool. So when you speak about walking with your little one, going for a walk, and then this, what do I want to do with my life comes. It's when we go outside of our regular environment that these epiphanies, these insights come to us, because we're not in this whirlpool of confusion, or overwhelm, or this change. Not that it's bad. We're not saying it's good or bad, right or wrong. It's just simply a whirlpool of stuff going on. Then it's very difficult to come out of that foggy mind, that we can have that clarity of mind. So when we do go outside, I'm really an evangelist of telling people just to go and try, just go for a short walk.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of perspective. When you go outside and your physical perspective changes, your inner perspective changes accordingly. And I've even heard about walking meetings. So you can have a professional meeting walking, and that's something today very common, or not very, but getting more common.
Yeah.
And this is beautiful to see that people are starting to realize that sitting indoors is not the most productive thing if you do it all day long, or to change the environment. There's a massive body of research that proves that learning in changing environments is much better, much more effective. When you change your environment, then you're learning and also, therefore also working better. So yeah, why not adopting this system also to our inner development and our clarity process? Yeah, I absolutely can see the benefit in that.
Or just go lie down on the grass outside in a park and just look up, because spatial intelligence is not something that we learned how to actually leverage. And just by lying down the grass outside and looking up, looking in a different direction, and seeing the open sky, whatever the weather is like, doesn't matter whether it's sunny or whether it's cloudy, that sense of expansiveness opens our whole body, mind, heart, everything up. Suddenly there's so many more opportunities available to us and possibilities of being stuck sitting like this. This is all I can see in this moment. There's nothing else existing around me, which can make us feel very contracted in our bodies as well. And then it affects all our well-being on all levels. So I love that you share that it's a matter of perspective.
And there's another key, yeah. And to add to that, there's another key here, which I call balance. And it goes back to the research about preventing burnout, that one of the keys is to always maintain this balance. And the balance goes not only work and life balance, but also the balance between stillness and movement, and between high energy and knowing when to pause, and even sounds versus silence. So when we keep playing with these different dimensions and we keep maintaining this balance, then it's a much more nourishing path to go. Then we avoid this burnout and frustration and stuckness that you mentioned before. For me, balance has really become a key in my personal life and in my professional life, because I realized that when I'm out of balance, things are going wrong. Things are going in a way that I can't even trace them. It's not about control, but it's about being aligned with what I want to do. And when I'm out of balance, I'm also not aligned with what I really want to do and achieve and get. So I totally encourage testing these different dimensions of moving or being still, of exploring or listening, and this is all about this level of balance.
I can feel it as you speak about it. And for me, it's like there's a mirror behind me, funny enough, is that you are mirroring to me, to my body. When you speak about balance, my body feels it as well. And my body loves it, because the body needs to be in balance as well. As part of our whole body-mind system, heart system, that we need to have that balance on all levels. And again, it goes me back to making time for it. You're not saying it's just something that we can forget about today. It's to just sometimes notice. And our bodies, for me, is like our GPS, our inner GPS, can tell us as well whether we'll be feeling balanced or not. And like you say, when things start to go wrong, I agree with you. Then we know it's a signpost to us, a big warning, right warning flag, a red flag for us to say, whoa, take a pause. Just note, step back out of what you are in. Take a few step backs, and maybe just walk in a different direction, and then think about it again. Or then look at it again. Because that change, small change in direction, also gives us another perspective again. And when we do it physically, our body's part of it. It's not just when we look at something, I'm looking that way now, that I'm seeing something different with my sight, but my body also feels this change. And when you speak about be the change, what is that all about?
It's that's one of my biggest passions, to explore this intersection between leadership and sustainability. Because for me, good leadership is competency leadership is the one that deals with complexity, and we can't drive social change without stepping into our leadership. So what we do at Be the Change is we meet leaders, and leaders don't have to be people in high authorities. It could be one person stepping into their leadership, right? So it could be activists, educators, executives, but also, you know, students, whoever wants to now start any kind of project related to sustainable development or social change. And we support them in that way. And the way we do it is that we help them take their vision and realize that into a plan, into a very strategic plan of how they take their vision and make it into reality. And along the way, we help them cultivate their leadership capacities. So it's not just business oriented, it's with much more focus on these soft skills, empathy, listening, holding space, facilitation of processes, all these bits that they used to be irrelevant for business, but now we see how important they are. When you bring empathy into leadership, into organization, into social change, things happen in a much more holistic way and systemic way, because then you're not just a solo runner, solo player. Then you bring everyone together into this process and you get long-term results. So for me, Be the Change, and this is why I also picked the title, is about you embody the change that you want to bring into the social level.
Now, I'm just sensing into it as you speak, and I suddenly see a most beautiful peacock in front of me.
A peacock?
A peacock, yeah. With all these beautiful, flamboyant, beautiful, bright colors. But there's something about this peacock, as you're speaking about leadership and sustainability, and speaking about balance now, my body goes into balance again between these two, say sustainability and leadership. And what's missing in between is the human being. You know, between the two is the human being it, like you said, be the change. And it's easy for people to speak about be the change. You know, you hear it everywhere, be the change. But for an individual who is going through what they're going through in life at the moment, it might not have any meaning, because what does that mean to me, you know, be the change? Because I don't even know yet what I want. Those processes we spoke of, practices we spoke about earlier. Now you want me to be the change. But what I want to share about the peacock, what I think is very important, of your beautiful vision that you now bring into reality with what you're currently doing, is that the feet of the peacock is grounded. And that is what I see a lot of times in many different facets of life with people who's got most beautiful visions, and they've got all the plans to make it happen, but it's not grounded. And they speak all the most beautiful words, but it's not grounded. So, and when you speak about balance, for me, that brings the groundedness. And it brings the heart, the emotional part that you talked about earlier. It brings the heart of it as well, because without the heart, it won't work either. Whatever way we refer to the heart energy. But in this beautiful peacock that I just saw, is a peacock is very eloquent. It's loud, it's bold, it's audacious. Here I am, you know. But it's still that feet is that huge body. It's actually a huge body if you go and look at a peacock, and then the feet are firmly grounded. So it's grounded vision as well. And grounded eloquence of speaking about. And for me, I just suddenly saw, when you were speaking about sustainability and leadership, the 2 feet, the left and the right feet, as being grounded. And the being part is you, like you said, it starts with ourselves, with be the change. You are the change. I come from a business world where in consulting, I was part of the birth of change management, change leadership in the business world. And over a period of 2.5 decades, noticing, and I'm really fortunate to be able to notice this on different continents, different cultures where I worked, to see what went wrong in that process. And for me, it was because the change was imposed from the outside in. People will tell you we're going to do stuff differently now, but it had no personal meaning for you. You were not the change. You were asked to behave in a different way, but it didn't come from the inside out. Now, as you're speaking, I've had this big sense of it's self-leadership first, it's inside out first, which we then express in our different structures, or whether we are outwards. So it begins with a human being, which was missing previously. But we're learning, we're learning. It's not that that was wrong. That created a big change in life by itself, in the way people looked at business, about leadership, how people looked at leadership at the time. So it's wonderful when you bring sustainability and leadership like that together into this exploration today.
Yeah, I think that when leaders use their authority, or even the title, the status, to force change, then you only see superficial results. You only see something in the here and now. And when we talk about deep change at a very high scale level, and you want to go long-term change, you want to involve all the people, then you can't use your authority. Well, you can, but you won't get there. And you want to dive into something much deeper also in the process and the interactions. You want to make the people that go with you, you want to make them own it. So this is about a very, very high and deep engagement of the one who are involved with you. And when we talk about social change, I mean, the word is hidden there, social. It has to be a social fabric that holds this change together. And I know now it sounds very, very vague, but I can give a very concrete example even, that I work with this winery here in Israel. And they decided to make the winery in a sustainable one. So to turn all their operations to be in a more sustainable manner, to take care of people, environment, and so on. And as soon as their CEO started to engage all the people working in the winery, to engage them in the process, as soon as she opened the discussions to them, as soon as they took part and actually expressed their opinions and their ideas and their input on sustainability in the winery, the process became so systemic, and they managed to do it because she was very smart, intelligent, and emotionally intelligent, smart, to open this process to all the employees. And that was, and still is, a wonderful process, because she realized it's not about she forcing down decisions. It's about really putting together everyone in the same position of decision-making when it comes to sustainability in the winery, and let the collective wisdom kind of bubble up from the group.
Oh yes, that is, for me, I wouldn't say it's the only way. I know there's infinite ways to do things, but that's a very prevalent, meaningful way to do it. But suddenly, as you're speaking about that, what connects from our earlier part of the discussion to what you're just sharing? Those three things we spoke about? Suddenly that comes in. Those three things come into the play. When you make it personal, for this person, the meaning for them. And then the bigger part, we birth into the world, we come into our body, into this world. But so we're sort of the center of this bigger world. But if we start from the outside in, like you said earlier, it won't be sustainable. It might last a little while. It will not be long lasting. But when you come from the being itself, taking it very personal to them and involve them and ask them to speak their voice, the collective voice, but it also brings it to other parts of them for me in it. It's their hearts, so the voice of the heart, and also the voice of the willpower. Because without, we can have the most beautiful visions, Our heart can be beautiful. We can have the right beautiful aspirations, but we don't have the willpower, the physical willpower to do it. It won't succeed either. And when you engage people on that type of levels, it's a total human experience.
Yeah.
And we're sustainable. We are here. We have this beautiful natural growth process, and but it's all of us. It's the whole thing. It's not just one part. It's not only the mind or only the heart or only the willpower.
I think it also beautifully goes back to vulnerability and not knowing the path, which goes back to the first question you asked me. Because when a leader takes this courage and say, I'm going to open this process to everyone be involved, he doesn't know the path, right? He can decide, I know the path, I'm going to just dictate it and go on. But when when the leader person engages everyone, they don't know the path, and it's a very, very vulnerable position to be in. But it's also, for me, their way to go towards social change. So it goes back to, we don't know where we are going, but we're going to go there together. So I'm guessing we are trusting the process. I'm guessing it will be good.
Trust. You say the golden word, trust.
Trust, yeah.
Yeah. And that was hugely missing previously in the business world, for example, with leaders in all sorts of structures, not only the business world, governments everywhere, social structures, is trust. And for me, when we speak about trust, it's trusting your people enough to know, and the universe for that matter, so the larger living system, that we come together, all these people in this, whether it's business, doesn't matter what group it is, for a reason. And we might, like we said, we don't know it yet what this reason is about. But we trust it, that it will unfold and show itself. And that's big trust. But that means a lot of change in the minds of business leaders, especially. You're trusting your people have the abilities to bring forth what is needed to make it sustainable. And when we start showing trust to people, magic happens. If I show to you that I trust you and your potential and all your beautiful abilities and capabilities, something happens inside the human being. It's a magical thing. They thrive. They want to participate. They want to contribute. Initially, they might be shy or a little bit passive or apprehensive. But once you demonstrate to them that you trust this unknown path and them as part of this path, magic happens. And I've challenged many business leaders in that way before, by trusting their people enough that what needs to unfold will unfold, because it starts with a trust. And respect as well. Respecting each other for what we each bring, which is very different, which is wonderful. But it's in between that trust and the respect that the magic then unfolds, which I think is delightful. So when you speak about be the change, I'm also curious about your ecosystem, your space where you play currently. Is it just in Israel? Is it global? Is it just local? Is it regional? What is it like?
It's all of them together.
Wonderful.
No, I don't only focus in Israel. In Israel, I work within my region and also with other partners, especially in the participatory leadership field. But most of the time is actually working internationally. I took the topic of preventing burnout and decided to go further with that beyond research, and we established a nonprofit called Enkindle Global. And this is a very, very international team. We're coming from different countries, collaborating together to support leaders and change makers in cultivating well-being, because we believe, like I told you before, that when you take good care of yourself, you can take care of the environment and the people as well. When you sustain yourself, you can pursue sustainability. So this is our mission now, and it's very international. We call it Enkindle Global for a reason, because we want to make it worldwide, and we want to invite diversity into this process. So for us, it's really not our opinions, it's about the diversity and variety of people engaged.
That's just wonderful.
Thank you.
That's just wonderful. And I go back to the peacock. You know, the peacock's feathers, they are these, it looks like eyes. You're going to look at a peacock's feather. There's all these eyes, like lots and lots of them. They're all looking outwards. And what you just spoke about with this non-profit, what did you say the name is?
Enkindle, like kindling, starting a fire, Enkindle.
Enkindle,
Enkindle Global, yeah.
So it's like this beautiful expression globally, reaching out. Davida, I'm just stunned at all the wisdom that unfolded in this very unknown way. As we began earlier, we didn't know where this was going to go. It was not a list of questions, you know, it's not staged, it's not scripted. And I'm just delightful. My whole body tingles of enthusiasm and excitement to know more. And I would like to invite everyone who's engaging with us in this, on whatever platform it is we're sharing it, to maybe just explore it more than once. You know, when we hear something for the first time, it comes into our brain, whichever way it works for us, into our bodies. But the second time around, there's always something new we pick up as well. And then I really would like to invite everyone who's going to explore this with us later in the other formats together to also connect with you, Davida, if that's okay with you. We will share your contact information about Be the Change and your beautiful nonprofit Enkindle. We will share that at the end of the podcast. But we really would like to entice everybody to invite more over to engage with you as well and to explore what we shared today in your own way out there, doesn't matter what it is, but to explore it and to just sit with it for a while, to see what comes up for everyone personally. But don't be shy. Remember, one of the things we spoke about earlier is we need to ask. We need to reach out. Nothing's going to happen if we don't reach out to each other. And if something's birthed in whatever way, to allow it to unfold, to see what's there, stay curious. We spoke about curiosity earlier as well. Stay curious and reach out and see what wants to happen here. Now, we always ask the question, what wants to happen here? We don't come up with an initial answer for that. No, we allow it to show itself along the way. And that's where the real play and magic and fun starts. And then things start to unfold and we get exactly what we need at the right time. We meet the right people and our paths intersect and cross. And I'm really curious by myself as well to see where this specific engagement is unfolding into. So thank you so much, Davida, for joining us today. But I would like to ask you if you have a message, especially for the younger ones, the ones who came more recently. What would that message be?
If I'd have to put it in one sentence, is that doing meaningful stuff and be happy while doing that.
That is beautiful.
Thank you for this wonderful conversation. It's been a pleasure to me.
Thank you so much, Davida, and everyone again. Thank you for being with us in this way. When we explore other people's worlds and when we talk about other people's worlds, it's their experience of life. It's simply that. And there's more than 8 billion people on this beautiful planet. And imagine we have all these different experiences. How enriching it is when we reach out to somebody else, even if it's for a few moments. So don't be shy and don't be afraid. Thank you so much, Davida. Thank you, everyone. See you